Hi, I'm Lauren, and if you're new to my channel, so am I. So for the past few months I've been making videos that I'll probably never post because even though I have all these ideas and all of this fabric, I never really have a plan to go by. But today it's going to be a little bit different because I do actually have a plan of something I want to do. I've had this fabric here for like 3 years maybe. It's like a corduroy type of fabric and I think I have 10 yards of it. I haven't measured. It's just been sitting folded in my fabric drawer for forever and I need to get rid of it. I'm literally so embarrassed about how frantic I was in that last clip, but it's really scary to film by yourself in an empty house. But I wanted to make something similar to this and use up as much of the fabric as I can with like big huge sleeves and a pleated skirt. I thought I would document the process just because I do spend a lot of time on my sewing projects and like never show them off. Here's what the dress looked like when it was finished and here's how I made it. I just started by marking my design with tape and then draping the fabric over it, and I did a pretty standard bustier pattern. This is what I have taped up so far. Normally I would transfer this onto paper, but I think I'm just going to do it on the fabric since it's kind of see-through. And for the cup, normally you'd put like a seam down the middle here too to fit it better, but I think I'm actually going to do like a gathered cup. So I have all my pieces here with like the chalk lines on them. You can barely see them, but I'm gonna cut them all out double, one for each side, and then I have this fabric for the lining, just like a weird white fabric that I had on my walls before. All the pieces were cut out with a 5/8 inch seam allowance so that I can make boning channels. For the cup I used the slash and spread method, so I just cut the cup into 3 pieces, moved it like 1.5 inches apart, and then redrew it. And it was time to sew everything together, so I started with the cups. On the top seam allowance I did 2 lines of gathering stitches and then just pulled the threads so that they would fit into the rest of the pattern. I forgot I did the same thing on the rest of the cup too, but then I was able to sew all the pieces together, and on each seam I sewed 2 lines 3/8 of an inch away from the seam so that I could make boning channels on each piece. I sewed the lining the exact same way to keep it neat, but then I ended up cutting it down so that when I folded over the top hem there wasn't like 4 layers of fabric. So for the top hem I folded the corduroy fabric over twice, and in there I put a piece of elastic which I stretched a tiny bit just so that it would fit really closely. And for the front lacing I took this folded piece of fabric and just cut a strip how long the top was by like 2 inches. And then I just sewed that strip to the center front on both sides. I don't really know how to explain this part so you can see what I'm doing. I kind of just like folded the fabric over and then sewed it down again so that there's an extra fold sticking out, and I'm going to put the lacing holes there. So here's where we are right now with the top after I sewed this. I feel like it kind of looks weird, and this is the point of every project where I'm starting to question everything. And then I just got this, which is what I'm going to use to tie the front and the back. It actually matches perfectly and I didn't realize that, so that's good. But right now I'm just going to take the skirt parts and like serge the edges here, and then I can put on the zipper and start to sew the skirt on. For the skirt I was thinking about either doing a box pleat or regular pleat, and I went with the box pleat. So I measured 2 centimeters away from each part and then just folded like one way and then the other way to make the pleats. Here I am just putting the skirt together. There was a front piece and then 2 back pieces, and I was measuring the waist, which I apparently didn't do good enough. So somehow it's like a lot big even though I measured it, and I don't know, I think every time I do like pleats like this it kind of makes it bigger for some reason, but I have to fix this. I don't want to have to redo the pleats, so I was able to just cut one off on each side and kind of make it work that way. So after that I just added the zipper onto the back of the skirt, and then I started on the lacing holes for the front, which I marked with a water-soluble marker. Not recommended, it always stains. And then from there I just started working on the back lacing holes as well. So I just folded over the extra fabric and oh, I forgot to add the boning, so here I am doing that. Got my fabric scissors on plastic. I also made the holes with a like hole punch thing, and I also don't recommend that. You should probably use an awl if you're gonna do this. Hi, it's maybe day 5. I don't know, I keep getting distracted and procrastinating, so I'm going to try to use this here. It's called a flower foot. I'm going to try to use it to make the eyelets, but I don't know how that works, so I might have to just hand sew them instead, depending on what looks better. So I'm done with all the back eyelets, and they're right here, and I actually might redo some of them because they're a little bit messy. I'm going to save the front eyelets for a little bit later because right now I want to work on the sleeves and make sure I can finish those. The sleeve was a rectangle 28 inches by 13 inches that I sewed on the sides, and then I just cut this curve out of it. It looks like this, I don't know. And same as always, I folded over the top of the sleeve twice and sewed around it, and then I left an open hole so that I could thread some elastic through so that it would gather. Here I am measuring my arm so I know how long to make the armband, and I'm just cutting it with double thickness so that I could fold it over and sew it on the sides. And then I ended up using a basting stitch to gather the sleeve onto that band. As you can see here, I put the sleeve and the band right sides together, and then I sewed it, and here's what it looked like when it was done, almost like a little baker's hat. Oh, and I just laced up the back of the dress and I heard a rip, so hopefully everything's okay because I can't see it. But I just marked the sides where I'm going to put the sleeves on, and then I have to just do the hem. I'm going to just fold it up really quickly instead of pinning, and then once I do the eyelets, I'm going to be all finished. The dress isn't ripped, but this lacing hole is hanging on for dear life. This is why I wouldn't use the hole punch thing again, and I'd recommend it all. For the last few steps, I marked the hem with chalk and then sewed it all around. And then I just had to add the sleeves on, so I sewed it with a couple back stitches just so that it wasn't too bulky. So of course, after I finished sewing everything together, I realized there was a random black stain on the back of the dress, but anyways, here it is when it's finished. Thank you for watching, and my next video should be a Halloween vintage type video, so subscribe if you want to see it. Bye!